Nobody's had a chance to change my opinion on this shoe. These are entirely my own biased, unbiased even, thoughts. Although I do obviously have a bias towards a certain type of shoe. So bear that in mind when we go through the review. Okay, so first and foremost, some very quick stats. If you want more stats on this shoe, go to Doctors of Running and you'll get the complete lowdown, but I'll go quickly through the stats. So 220 grams in my UK 9.5, so quite a light shoe. We've got 38.5 millimeters in the heel and 36 in the forefoot, giving a very low 1.5 millimeter drop. Although if you look at the geometry of this shoe, let me show you, you can see this huge cutout in the heel and the fact that most of the foam is under the midfoot. And so it doesn't feel like that 1.5 millimeter drop at all. I think this is a way that Mizuno have got around regulations about the maximum 40 millimeter heel height. They've been rather clever with it, and they've also worked out how this geometry can help in terms of creating what actually is a very fast shoe in the right hands. But we're going to talk about, go on to talk about who exactly are the right for this shoe, because it's not, this is definitely not a versatile shoe, it's not for everyone. Okay, so they're the basic stats out the way. The upper, very quickly, mesh upper, lightweight, roomy enough in the forefoot, but I did go up half a size. Anyone who's had the previous version of this shoe will probably have had to go up in that shoe as well. I did, just to be on the safe side with this shoe, because I've got wide feet. But those without wide feet, they might get away with true to size on this. So it's just on the borders. Heel, there's not much of a heel counter, as you can see. There's very little padding around the heel collar, and there's no extra hold to do a runner's knot. So with all those things compounding together, you've got a bit of a recipe for disaster in terms of heel lock. I had to cinch the laces very tight. It caused me some irritation at the top of my foot. I think definitely an area that Mizuno can improve on. It's a lot worse than version 1, which, if you remember, if you've used that, had more padding around the heel and more of a heel counter. So they've gone backwards, I think, in some regard with this upper, apart from it's a bit roomier. Okay, the outsole, like with the previous version, very grippy, very tacky, bites into the pavement. You've got even bigger cutout, which could be a rock collector if you go on the wrong surfaces, but you don't want to be going on the wrong surfaces with this shoe. It's not stable enough. Stick to tarmac, stick to races, which are flat, without cambers, and you'll be fine with this shoe. This is not a good shoe on a camber. We'll talk about that a bit more, in a bit as well. And then midsole, it's a reasonably firm but cushioned ride. You do break this foam in a little bit after time, so it starts to feel better. When you first put on, it can feel quite firm, and particularly if you land on this area, the midfoot, where the bump is, and I call this speed bump. And it feels really weird. It feels like you've got like a pogo stick under your foot, which feels bizarre. And it kind of works because it throws you forward. But you specifically have to land here. So the geometry of this shoe is very much designed for midfoot strikers. And if you're a midfoot striker, you're going to love this shoe, and it could be a real weapon in terms of getting PBs, because you're going to land on the sweet spot and it's going to throw you forward. And if you can adjust to that aggression and handle that aggression, it's going to be a real aid in terms of picking up pace. I'm a forefoot striker, so I miss that bump. So I get the bit of the rocker that you can see here, but it's not as pronounced. So I don't feel like I'm getting the full benefit of this shoe. And I think for most forefoot strikers, compared to something like the Saucony Dolphin Elite, which is a comparable shoe to this, by the way, I think that's going to be more suitable for you and landing on the forefoot, because the rocker's more intense in that shoe at the front. But for midfoot strikers, this is like a dream of a shoe, and I'd really consider this. But you have to be somebody who's got strong ankles and somebody who's got no stability issues, But if it's a big tick on those two, then this could be, like I said, could be a real weapon for you. And then finally, you can see if I use the book, again, absolutely no heel. So this is not a good shoe if you're a heel striker. You might get away with it for 5-10k races where you're landing further forward. But imagine, for sake of argument, you're in a marathon and you're landing further forward for the first 10k, but you start to lose your form a little bit and you drift backwards. What's going to happen? You're going to start tipping backwards, and that's going to be a disaster. It's going to keep you pushing forward, and that's not necessarily good for you, right, over a longer distance. So heel strikers, beware of this shoe. So how did it perform for me in the race? So I got my second fastest ever 10k in that race, and that's partly to do with its Battersea Park, and it's a quick course. So I expected I would go reasonably fast, and partly to do with this shoe. It's very, like I said, very lightweight, and even though I'm landing further forward, it's responsive. I do get it allows me to flow through my stride, and when I land, it pushes you, the rocker throws you forward. It's not, like I said, the foam isn't the most propulsive, so I would say the Endorphin Elite's foam is more spriggy and bouncy than this, and so definitely is the Asics Sky Paris. I think that in those two shoes, I think the foam is better, but the geometry of this shoe means that for certain people, it's going to be even more performing than those two. And these certain people, if we get to the point of this shoe, these certain people are midfoot strikers. And, during the race, I felt like I wish I was landing further back. And during a marathon, that's maybe what would happen in my case, where I would be, for the first 10 miles, I'd be landing somewhere around here. As I begin to tire, I would drift backwards and eventually hit the sweet spot, the speed bump that I'm talking about. And it might be quite nice towards the end of the marathon, actually getting this assistance. So for me, I've not ruled this out, running in a marathon or half marathon in this shoe. But I feel like for 5-10Ks, there are better shoes that as a forefoot striker I can use. And as a heel striker, I wouldn't go anywhere near this shoe. You might get away with it for 5Ks, but then you're spending a bit of cash on a shoe that's very limited just to 5Ks, so why would you? Although, talking about price actually, which I haven't mentioned, this has come down a hell of a lot in price. It's now £125 in various places, which is a bargain. Actually a bargain, and particularly if you are a midfoot striker who's going to land on the sweet spot, it's going to throw you forward, and it's going to propel you to some very fast times. So midfoot strikers, this could be an absolute dream for you. It could rival any of the other speedsters out there. But unfortunately, it's a limited set of people that are going to get the best out of this shoe. In terms of the race, like I said, I got my second fastest time. And at no point during the race did I feel unstable in this shoe, but it was a flat course. Had there been a camber, and I have used this on a camber, you're feeling like with this shoe, you're always having to adjust your foot or try and navigate to the top of the camber where it's slightly flatter. It feels horrible on a camber, this shoe. It feels like you're going to topple over. So really, I would only really want to use this on flat courses. Battersea Park was pretty flat, so I wouldn't go anywhere near go off-road in this shoe. I wouldn't do any daft kind of, well, you can imagine. Don't do anything that's on a massive camber. Don't go off-road. Don't go even on grass or divots. This is not a good shoe. I think it's not stable. It's not unstable on a flat surface, but anywhere else I would say that it could be unstable. And it'll take something out of your ankles. Although the geometry of this shoe, if you can get used to it, I think will actually take more out of your hips and glutes the way you're running this shoe. So you need strong hips and strong glutes. So it's another thing to consider. But all in all, you can see the race footage after this. There's not actual footage of the race, but there's footage of me before and after. all in all, performed well. And you know, I did. You know, the best thing I can say about that race is I wasn't crying out for a different shoe on my foot. I thought all the way through, I thought, actually, yeah, it's not bad, not bad. Would I have run quicker time in the Saucony Endorphin Elites? I think maybe the Sky Paris, but not too many shoes out there that I think would have been better than this shoe. So that's my overall review of this Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 2. Hope it's been informative for you. If you like the review, if you like what I'm doing here in general, thumbs up, subscribe, and yeah, look forward to hearing from you in the comments. And you know, stand by for more reviews of racers or everyday trainers. Hello, I'm here now at Battersea Park. It's a lovely park, as you can see. It's one of the most underrated parks in London, I think, or maybe rated by a lot of people, but underrated by visitors maybe. It's got beautiful lakes, as you can just about see there, near the Thames. Great spot, flat for running, which is important. So here to do a 10k, see by my number. Interesting number, but yeah, I'll give it my best shot today. I've got a bit of a tight hamstring, which I think will be okay given it's 10k rather than 5, so I can coast a bit, but you know, it's not ideal, but I'll make sure I don't do anything stupid. Yeah, and today we are wearing the right, there we go, you can see that. Try again. Yeah, the Rebellion Pro 2s. So we'll see if they're any good. For 10k, I've run in 5 and they've been great before, so we'll see. See you later. Hope it goes well.